Hey there, YouTube friends. Masked Bandit here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I always appreciate it. Welcome to, wow, Retro Planet Coaster. I asked, and you all said overwhelmingly that you wanted to see the very first project I did. Maybe not the very first, but the very first. I don't remember if this was even once the game released or if this was still an alpha, but the first project, like, after I made that little beta series, I think. And like I saw what people were doing. Anyway, welcome to Portals, the park that Mike always makes fun of me for. Actually, it's not this. It's the fact that Portals is like Conifer Slopes. It's one of those parks where it just keeps coming back. So maybe in Planet Coaster 2. But while we are all thinking about Planet Coaster coming to an end, and Planet Coaster 2 is coming out, and all the exciting stuff with that, I thought it'd be a lot of fun to take a look at this and see my humble beginnings before we started Bro Coaster, before I started Conifer Slopes, before I really knew what was going on with the game, and all that stuff. So this is not mine. I didn't create this. This used to be the entrance. You were forced. This was behind the area. You couldn't change this. And I think this is where the ticket booths were. But things have changed. There's going to be some garish stuff in here because the design of some of the items I used had changed from when I built the park to a later release. So just so you're aware, some of the really gross stuff that you're going to see didn't always look that way. Wow. Look at all. I don't even know if we couldn't remove curbs yet. But this is my entrance to Portals Adventure Park. And if you're like, what is this? All these green signs, I think were yellow neon, and that's what I was using them for. And the garishness of this, I think it looked more like a wave or something. It looked like a comet, if I remember correctly. Obviously, it doesn't look like that anymore, but you can see we have a little entrance area here to this little park. This is the park that is the Bro Coaster intro. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, and we'll see that in a minute. This isn't going to be a super long video because there's not a lot here, but you can see my thoughts. This was me fresh off of RollerCoaster Tycoon 3, still learning, watching some Silv videos, some videos of Silverette doing some amazing things with the alpha and being like, maybe I should try to use buildings in unique and interesting ways. And that's what we have. So we have this interesting entrance area here, kind of like a Hollywood Studios vibe. This is the first time I tried Art Deco and really tried to do cool things with the pieces. So you can see like this restroom over here. It's also very much using lots of Planco pieces, but this like restroom over here, this building actually exists in Brazos Square. This is the Brazos Square Yellow Rose Pub. These are all from Napier, New Zealand. Most of these come from that. And this was my really rough and ready approximation of how to do it before any DLCs, before even any of the free updates. This is basic Planet Coaster. But I'm actually surprised that generally this is okay. It makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. There's not really much of a backstage, but yeah. I'm actually thinking these lamps are still really cool, and man, I like them. I think I still like the lamps. I like the custom lamps. They're very tall, very tall, but I do like them. And I think you can still see there's an aesthetic and there's an idea here that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is gonna work. I think this is the first project where I really, I was like, I can see where this game is headed. So this is the bank building from Napier. I know it's not called Napier, but I can't say Napier without sounding really weird. So, and this building is actually where my name shows up on the Bro Coaster logo intro. This is based on that same city in New Zealand. Here, we'll go from here. You might recognize this view of it. There was a billboard with my name on it up there. But I actually rebuilt this as well in Bronation Studios all those years ago when the Studios DLC came out. But yeah, I think I like this version better. Yeah, it's not as good. Like, that's probably my first time trying to do the dome technique up there. But I think I like this version better than the one that's in Bronation Studios. This one feels a lot more theme parky to me. And then this was Mike's building, I think. This is the building that has Mike on it and 7 on it. And we were going for sort of a mix of what if Disneyland or Disney World had had a layout like Islands of Adventure. And the last thing I was working on in this project was this crazy castle, using the scenery sets provided to us for their intended purpose. I mean, who even does that? Never finished this, but I don't think it's that bad. And I never made it to the left either. The only other area we ever got into, hiking coaster, was the Pirate Village, aptly named Pirate Village. Do love this mascot. Never really made another pirate area, so this is the only project I ever dropped him into. I think he is my favorite. King Coaster is my number one, but I think this pirate guy is my Captain Lockjaw. He's my number two. I just think he's great. This is incredible. I cannot believe but I think this is okay. And like I said, one of my favorite parks is Islands of Adventure, and this over here was supposed to be a restaurant inspired by Mythos in Lost Continent, where it looked like it was hewn out of the rock. And so I just made it look kind of like a pirate fort, and I just threw all kinds of bits and bobs on it to make it look fancy. And just trying to be creative with the use of pieces, trying to mix scenery sets, trying to make things interesting. I'm proud of this. Pretty sure I made this. I don't think this is a blueprint. It might be. I don't think so though. But yeah, I thought this was really fun, and I had grand plans to build up all around here and just never got around to it. At one point, I was really interested in the rough and terrain brush of the terrain texture. And that's what I was doing with it. I was trying to make it feel like its own little land. We've got ourselves some Whippy Tentafu. I miss Whippy Tentafu. You'll also notice there's like some height variations in this park. I wonder if that's because, did I do that intentionally? I can't even remember. Themed cues. Just kind of spaghetti at the wall. I would call this project throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. I guess I wasn't aware of the grid options for the cues yet. Had to put the pirates. This is the only time I've ever used the pirate ship in this entire game. Was in this project right here. But yeah, we've got some more shops and stuff here. Just lots of clutter. I do like the scenery, obviously. I mean, it looks really cool. Scale's getting, obviously, not a thing. I'm not really thinking about scale at this point in my Planet Coaster career, am I? But I think it looks fun. And just the difference in height variations with the cues and stuff, I think that's pretty cool. Here is our little coaster area. A flying coaster. A basic layout. We'll ride it. It's really bad. It is not great. But you get some nice views using the water here. I don't think it's just... I think it has aged very poorly. But I think it was cute. I think it was cute. And it looks like this is the entrance to our coaster here. So we're going to do a walk through the queue because I actually do remember this queue being pretty heavily themed. And there's something weird. This is such an old park, such an old one that there was something weird. The blocking didn't work. I had it block break, but for whatever reason, it just wouldn't operate with more than one train. Oof, getting some mad Z fighting going on here. Yeah, you could see it's a little rough and ready, isn't it? But I don't know, I think it's cute, using the barrels as scenery as we continue to do. Yeah, this was interesting. This is interesting to look at because I feel like I've always had a decent grasp on the front of house of coasters, of theme parks. Like, I remember cattle pens, you know. I know what theming is. I've been to Disney. I've been to theme parks. But it took, obviously, I think it took working with all the awesome people I worked with over all these years in Planet Coaster to really understand theme park design, like from a realistic standpoint. There are parts of this project that look realistic, and then there are parts that are just total fantasy. Here is our underdeveloped station. Needs a lot more detail. I think this station still holds up really well. I think this is one of the best stations I've ever made. Except for the floating pillars. Don't look at that. Boy, why would I wonder if that was an accident or if something changed. Because that seems like no, probably just me. Because look, they're floating here, but they're not floating here. Take it back. Not the best station I've ever made. But yeah, I think this is atmospheric. You know what it is? I haven't done a lot of actual indoor. A lot of my stations are all open air, so this one is obviously not, and that's not something that I've done very often. It's interesting to see what I did early on in the game and how my style has evolved. Alright, so we are now out of Tejidcam and we are hanging out. You can see there's not a lot here. This is, like I said, it's going to be a pretty short video, but if we zoom in, we can see our entrance area here. It makes sense. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I was really struggling because we didn't have any way to plug. I didn't understand paths yet. Paths were still kind of wonky and obviously brand new. We didn't have all the tricks on how to cover up all these gaps and stuff, so that's what all these planters are. They're just gaps. But it does okay. I am still doing things like backstage a little bit. Like we do have doors and we didn't have the good ground texture for ground and I didn't want to put paths back here. But yeah, I mean, we got the basic idea, and the idea that this whole thing is man-made, I mean, that's kind of what we're going with here. We didn't think much, I didn't think much more of it about it other than that, and obviously we never got to that side, but I don't mind this at all. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's all right. And then obviously over here would have been probably Western themed or something like that. And then our fantasy theme would have been back here. You know, honestly, looking at this, portals like an adventure park might not be the worst idea to do for a Planet Coaster 2. Oh, here's a look at a little outdoor seating area overlooking the water with all the... Look at all the mist underneath and this little cove here. That's super cute. There are some parts I really like. I like this part right here. For some reason, the way this whirly rig sits here, I think that looks really good. And the way this whole area kind of is just facades. I think it could have been good. Had I known more about how theme parks function and how to lay them out, I think I would have done a lot better. So here's a better look at the layout of this coaster. I think it's a fairly standard coaster, probably using a lot of the in-game pieces as far as inversions and stuff go, but pacing's always been a struggle with me for Planet Coaster. This one rides a little fast, especially through this inversion here, but I think it's a pretty solid layout. And again, I think, man, this is making me want to do an adventure park, a highly themed project in Planet Coaster 2. As much as I love the generic and that look, and that's what I'm familiar with because that's what I visit, there's just something to be said about this little project. Here we are, not finishing the backs of buildings. Some habits die hard. Let's take a look at the park at night. So not a lot of actual glow going on here, is there? Not much being lit up. These lights don't cast very much, and they're a little far away to actually be lit up. But I did try to light up the buildings. Oof, this neon is rough. Just rough. And it looks like the pirate area has a lot more lighting. So I love the torch. Obviously, I thought the torches were really cool. Loved the torches. I like the green on this. I think that turned out really, really well. I don't know. I find it inspirational in a weird sort of way, and hopefully you do too. We all start somewhere, don't we? And it's funny to take a look at this and then go watch like the most recent episode of Conifer Slopes or any of the episodes of Bro Coaster, and just to think where it all started and where it all ended up and what that means for Planet Coaster 2. I feel real confident that we'll be able to hit the ground running when Planet Coaster 2 shows up and be able to take everything we learned from the many, many years of Planet Coaster and apply it right away to make some amazing projects right from the get-go. This has gotten me really excited and nostalgic and kind of embarrassed, but I think it's fun. I think this was a fun little dive. It's not long. There's not a lot to show. Hopefully you were like, oh, it's pretty cool. This is the project that I sent to Mike when he wanted to use it to make the Bro Coaster intro. I think this is where we're going to leave it. I don't have anything else to say. Here it is. You all wanted to see it. Here it is. There's not much. But this is cute. Yeah, this is going to be where we leave it. So if you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, hit the like button. Consider subscribing so you don't miss any Planet Coaster 1 or 2 content here in the present and in the near future. And with all that being said, have yourself a great day, great night, great whatever, and I will see all of you for the next episode of Planet Coaster. Take care, everyone, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.